Welcome back, VA user. In today's session, we are going to cover how to set up the recurring. Now, what's basically the recurring? If you break this word, it is basically re and then occur. So, reoccur, when you combine it, it means that is recurring. Now, to run a certain business, there are certain recurring things like your telephone expenses, your electricity expenses, right? Your tea and coffee expenses. So these are certain expenses that will reoccur in nature, that can be on daily basis, that can be of weekly basis, that can be of monthly basis. So normally it is monthly basis, but these are the certain things that used to reoccur every month. Okay, if I will talk about the example, electricity expense, you receive the electricity bill at the end of each month. Only the difference is the amount is going to be a little different. Okay, so but it is reoccur every month. Similarly, the telephone bills, it used to reoccur every month, right? Similarly, there might be some other orders, there might be some other invoices, there might be some GL journals that reoccur in nature. So in such a case, there is a utility, very good utility available into the VA system that you can utilize, that is reoccurring. Okay. So how to set up the reoccurring? We'll move on to the system and we'll see how we can set up the recurring. Okay. So I'm at my login page, IDS Sync Admin. I'm logging into the system. Now, as I have mentioned that we just need to set up a recurring. So you need to search a recurring. So there is a recurring. Okay. Now, if I want to set up the certain recurring rules, then I need to press new record. And here the important thing is what are all the recurring types. We do have the GL journal batch, the invoice, the orders, the payments. So as I have mentioned that for certain expenses, you can make the direct payments against the charges and you need not to generate an expense invoice. So such a kind of payments can be reoccurring in nature. Okay. So we'll take an example of the invoice. Now how we can set up the recurring rules. So let's first define one expense invoice because that is going to be the reference invoice which we need to link there at the recurring rule window. Okay. So let's do it and we'll move on to the expense invoice first. So we do have an expense invoice and we'll say new record. We select our document type as an expense invoice, select the vendor, so let's say Roxanware. So you need to pass the actual invoices. I'm just taking any of the vendor that is available into the system. Normally it is an electricity department as a vendor, so you need to select according to that. Okay, so I said I used to pay the checks. It is the purchase invoice, that's fine, and we'll save this expense invoice. So once the expense invoice is saved, we just need to move on the included lines and we'll say new record and select our charge. So in our case, it is going to be electricity expenses. Quantity remain 1 in case of charges, and let's say my expense this month was $250. So I will select this. If there is any text applied, you just need to select the text accordingly and save this record. Move on to the header, complete the record. Before completion, if you want to review what's going to be the accounting consequences, you would be able to click on to the review posting button. Since there is no account postings are set it up for the expense invoice, so that's fine. So we'll move on to the completion and we'll see. Okay, now my expense invoice is complete. Now we'll set the recurring rule. So my expense invoice says it is 31. So let me copy this and I will move on to the recurring and I will say electricity expense invoice. If you want to put the reference, then I would say this number is the reference. It is how, now what's going to be the frequency, whether it is daily, monthly, weekly or quarterly. So normally it used to be monthly and once in a month. So I would say once in a month. The next run date I need to define. So the next run date is going to be the next month, that is going to be August, right? And the maximum run is 12. I have defined for 12 months basically, so it will run once and it is for the 12 months. Okay, and then I just need to select my invoice, that was this, and once it is done, thereafter we just need to save. Our recurring rule is set up. Now we can set up the process, a recurring process. This is one of the process that we can schedule at the scheduler, and once the scheduler would run this process, it will verify and check everything and then generate the invoices every month. Okay, so we'll try to run it now. Since there is a little difference, recurring is not completed because the present month date is validated by the system. Okay, but it normally used to generate the expense invoice. So the date, once the date would come, thereafter you would be able to see that. Since my date is next one is this, I will try to make the change, and I will say to showcase you for 16th this, and if I will run this, then you would be able to see that my 32 expense invoice gets generated by the system. It will come here, and you would be able to see that this the recurring invoice with respect to 31, it gets generated and into the drafted stage with the value of 250. Now the user would come and they make the changes into the price. Let's say now the price is $200. This month my electricity expenses, I would change and I would be able to complete this transaction. So that is how you would be able to set up the recurring rules. Now the recurring rules, it doesn't mean that only for a single invoice you would be able to select. If let's suppose there is some telephone expense invoices, then you will say new record, you will select that relevant invoice. For the other recurring type, that is the GL General batch as well, you would be able to select. So in this way, you would be able to select or create multiple records at the level of the recurring rule, and you can schedule your recurring process there at the level of the scheduler. And once the V server runs that scheduler, the system would generate those invoices. So that is how the recurring process works into the VA system. I hope you like this video. If you like this video, then share this video along with your colleagues so that they would be able to learn how to set up the recurring rules. And if you like our video, then I would request you to subscribe our channel. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.